The Long Dark is a brutal and authentic survival game that has you managing hunger, thirst, fatigue, warmth, and your inventory. Even on the easier difficulties, this game offers a serious challenge. Carelessness is the quickest way of dying. Follow me as I trek across Bear Island with the end goal of reaching the top of Timberwolf Mountain. I awaken in an area called the Hush River Valley, which I am totally unfamiliar with. Checking my outfit, I found that my clothes don't suit the weather. I immediately start gathering sticks. I need to find shelter, fast, as hypothermia was setting in. I came across a deer carcass, but unfortunately I have nothing to carve it up with. I spotted a cave with a climbing rope next to it. There was some much needed firewood inside. Not knowing where the hell I was, I decided that it would be wise to climb the rope to gain some higher ground. After managing to reach the top, I took a look around and immediately spotted rising smoke on the other side of the gorge. "We have our heading, Captain!" I was now in serious danger of getting hypothermia. I needed to get to that fire quick. On the way, I found some more firewood. Shit! The path was blocked by scrub brush. After backtracking, I noticed that the sun was going down. I desperately needed to find a cave or a shack to hunker down for the night. Ooh, a hatchet! I came across an area called Stair Steps Lake. I wondered if these stair steps led to a shelter. It was late, I was freezing and exhausted, so what the hell. Night descended upon the land. The wind began to howl. It seemed like I would just have to find a small nook to... Cave! Not only was it a cave, but it was a tunnel leading out of Hush River Valley. I quickly threw down my bedroll and got some much needed rest. I awoke on day 2 hungry and dehydrated. I had a snack bar but nothing to drink, so I built my first fire and I went straight to boiling water. And in the meantime, I sang some tunes to pass the time. Toss a coin to your witcher, O Valley of Plenty. Now that I had something to drink and water for the road, it was time that I moved on. So I grabbed a torch from the fire and made my way deeper into the cave. Along the way, I grabbed some coal conveniently laying on the ground. I emerged from the cave in the mountain town region. I immediately found some high ground to get a better view. Hey, a road! It has to lead to the mountain town, but which direction? I figured that the town must be downhill from my position, so I set off. I happened across a small trailer, and seeing that I was hungry, I went inside and searched for food. Good news, bad news. Good news, I found some food. Bad news, it's dog food. Well, hold the nose and... Ugh. Continuing down the road, I came across an old dilapidated church. Aside from some soda cans, there wasn't much inside. Outside, the snow began to fall, and once again, I am freezing to death. But good news! I've reached Milton. I should be careful. I know a pack of wolves like to loiter in Milton. First things first, let's loot the bank. Upon entering, I found the vault door wide open, and that some poor sod had the same idea as me. I left the bank a very wealthy man. I proceeded to loot the rest of the houses in Milton. It wasn't very interesting. I got a storm lantern, a bunch of raw meat, and some much needed upgrades to my wardrobe. I decided it was time to go back to the blind lady's house and bed down for the night. Is that what I think it is? Yep, that's a wolf. And I'm carrying some stinky-ass raw meat on my back. Not good. But I was able to sneak into the house. Once inside, I went straight to cooking my meat. Wait, I hear you say, don't use the cash as tinder? That's a waste! Bitch, I'm rich. I literally got money to burn. While I wait for the food to cook, I decide to search the house. I really need a firearm to protect me from the wolves. Fun fact that I didn't know before, when you cook fish, you gain a small amount of lantern oil. Huh, more you know. After doing a final sweep of the house and not finding any firearms, I decided to head to bed. When I woke up on day 3, it was still dark out, so I mended my clothes by lantern light. After daybreak, I headed out with the intent of reaching the gas station on the far side of Milton. However, there were 2 wolves standing in my way. Yeah, fuck that. I'll go to the house on the hill. If I'm lucky, I might find a gun. Yes! Now I need to conserve my ammo. I only have 3 rounds after all. Ah, fuck. To add salt on the wound, the doors to the gas station were locked, and without a pry bar, there was no way in. I checked the visitor center in Milton Park, but had no luck in finding either a pry bar or ammo. Feeling defeated, I turned around and headed home. Just as I reached the steps to the house, I heard a wolf behind me, and as you could see, it scared the shit out of me. Let me replay that with my mic audio. Gathering my courage, I went back outside and the wolf was gone. Strange. I had no time to question it as I headed up the mountain to the radio tower. Maybe there'll be a pry bar. No such luck. Returning home, I continued mending my clothes and did a bit of research. I ended day 3 by sharpening my knife. I got up early the next morning and I decided to go to the farmhouse down the road. I have never been there before and I was curious. Plus, who knows, I could find some ammo. I prepared myself for any wolf encounters by bringing flares. From afar, it seemed the way to the farm was clear. Good. And this, boys and girls, is why you shouldn't count your chickens before they hatch. I got inside the barn and lit the flare to ward off the wolf. We had an intense stare down. While the wolf was snarling at me from outside the barn, I looted it. I then decided it was time to run into the house and... locked! I needed a key but didn't have any inclination of where it might be. I figured a good place to look was the truck. All I found was food. I knew I couldn't stay out here forever, so I headed home. Fido here followed me all the way back to Milton. Despite originally admitting defeat at the locked house, I was now even more curious of what was inside. I did some research and found out that the key was in one of 4 possible places. I had already searched the truck and the barn, so it was either in the tractor or on a corpse behind the house. I returned to Paradise Meadows Farm and found the key on the poor farmer behind the house. Inside, I found the Frontier Shooting Guide and some ammo. However, only 2 rounds were for my rifle. After I finished looting the home, I left for Milton. I decided to take the long way in hopes of avoiding any unwanted attention. It didn't work. Inside, I decided to delve into the Frontier Shooting Guide. A real interesting read. I was exhausted from all that running around. It was time for bed. I awoke before sunrise on day 5 and finished reading a sewing primer by L.L. Kingley, and then I threw it in the fire. It was about that time I decided that there was nothing left for me here in Milton except hungry wolves around every corner. It was time to move on. I gathered my things and set off. I remember from a previous playthrough that there was a climbing rope in Milton Park that leads me to Mystery Lake. That was my heading. When I reached the gas station, I once again ran into a wolf. He followed me up to the park and then got distracted by a rabbit. Lucky me. Upon reaching the rope, I discovered I was too encumbered to climb down, so I dropped all my fur firewood and went to climbing. Had to leave my flare behind too, which was unfortunate because, once again, I ran into a wolf. Using my last flare, I made my way to the next climbing rope and wasted no time. At the top of the cliffs, I saw a lovely waterfall and a cave. Inside, I decided to take a nice 2-hour nap as all that climbing had wore me out. After my nap, I began my trek into the cave and eventually emerged in the Mystery Lake region. I am very familiar with this region, considering this was the first map in the game. The first thing I see is the Hunter's Lodge, which is good because I know there's plenty of ammunition inside. I also notice a deer carcass in the shed. I'll come back for that. First, I searched the lodge, and sure enough, I found 5 rounds for my rifle. I was now up to 7 shots. I also found a gun cleaning kit, which is good. The rifle was in rough shape. Make that 8 shots. I found a rifle round on the floor. I then flexed my safe cracking skills. I must have been a bank robber in a past life. After repairing my new boots, I decided to go get meat off that deer carcass. I was pushing my luck. It was getting late and there was a bear den nearby. Luckily, I successfully harvested some meat before the bear came around. Back inside, I bed down for the night. I woke up early the next morning and got to building a fire. I slapped that venison down on the stove and read while it cooked. It was delicious. I wasted time until the sun came out, but the weather was bad, and I had to wait for more favorable conditions before heading out. After about an hour, the wind had calmed down, but a light fog had descended on the area. My line of sight was okay, so I figured it was acceptable to venture off. However, after a short while, the fog grew thicker. Like, so thick I couldn't see past my gun. And I'm not talking about the Springfield in my hands either. I feared that with the reduced line of sight, I might run into wolves and wouldn't know it until it was too late. So I hunkered down in an old building. After a couple hours of waiting, the fog had finally lifted and once again I was off. Almost immediately I spotted power lines and I followed them to the lake house. Inside, I ransacked the place, but the best thing I found was an urban parka, which was a much needed upgrade to my outfit. I had considered going across the lake to the other houses, but ultimately decided against it seeing there was still a fog. And so I spent all afternoon cleaning my rifle as it was in serious need of some attention. I was running low on water, so I decided it was time to boil some more. While it boiled, I practiced my cartography skills and crafted more tinder plugs because I had burnt through all my cash. After I was stocked up on water, it was bedtime. Not much happened on day 7. No, really. I woke up, did a bunch of reading, ransacked the other lake houses, colored my map, saw a bear and some wolves, avoided them, read some more, then went to bed. I woke up on day 8 and went across the lake again. There was one lake house I didn't loot because the aforementioned bear was standing in my way. I hoped that I would have better luck getting by him, and nope, still there. On my way back, I had drifted too close to some wolves and had to put one down. Well, looks like meat's back on the menu, boys. I sliced some meat off the wolf's bones and hurried home. Another wolf smelled its fallen packmate on me and attacked. I decided to take this one's hide as a trophy. You may notice I took some guts off the wolves. The idea is eventually I'm going to run out of bullets. I'll have to craft a bow. Just thinking ahead. Inside, I threw the wolf meat on the stove. Wolves are delicious. Now that I have tasted wolf meat, I needed more. So I went back and gathered what was left. While I cooked the wolf, I read The Frozen Angler by Anne Smith. As I cooked into the night, I began noticing strange things occurring in the house. Lights were flickering. Must be ghosts. Or the aurora. Beautiful. Man, I'm pooped. Bedtime. I spent the morning cooking the rest of my wolf meat. I then decided to go explore the fire watch tower that I could see from the house. I figured the entrance was past the derailment and to the left. However, getting to the derailment, I didn't see anything that looked like a path, so I doubled back a bit and went around. I could see the path up above me, but no way to it. A wild wolf appeared. I used flare. The wolf was confused. I did eventually find the trailhead, but not before injuring myself. Once I got up into the tower, I wrapped my ankle up and popped some Vicodin to ease the pain. I found ammo and a book that I had previously read. I'll read it again. I need something to pass the time. On my way back down, I decided I had enough energy and daylight to continue my journey to Timberwolf Mountain. Next stop, the Hydro Dam. Along the way, I found a balaclava. You know, that wool mask that makes you look like a terrorist. Inside the Carter Hydro Dam, my very first priority was checking if Fluffy was here. If you don't know, Fluffy is a wolf that may or may not spawn inside the dam. I didn't want to be taken by surprise, so I went looking for her. Fluffy? Fluffy, you here? Please don't jump out and scare me. Fluffy. All clear. First things first, gotta get some meat. It's no wolf meat, but it'll do. It was at this point that I realized that I had forgotten my wolf pelt and guts back at the lake house. I didn't feel like going back for it, and plus, I got some guts right here. I then went about looting the dam like there was no tomorrow. While looting the place, it slowly became apparent that I still don't have a fucking pry bar. Surely there was one laying around this industrial building. Spoilers, there wasn't. I stopped looting after a while because it was getting late and I was exhausted. I cooked my deer meat and went to bed. I awoke on day 10 and continued my looting spree. I was being very thorough in the vain hope I'd find a pry bar. Before I knew it, it was time for bed. I read until the sun came out, then I got my shit together and set off. Not forgetting my guts this time. My goal for today was to reach the coastal highway region. My trip was a smooth one. No wolves, no stress. Well, except for having to cross this bridge. And I made it to the coastal highway! Yet again, a thick fog had set in. Bears are more prevalent on the highway, so venturing through the fog was a bad idea. I knew about a trailer at the end of the tracks, which was a good place to wait out the...
That'll come in handy.
Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, hit the dislike button. Want to see more? Subscribe and hit the bell notification.